wonder what they're all here for.
I just came in for the applause, that's all I did.
Give me some more, give me some more. That's Rosie. So as we were walking up here, Bill, you were remarking on how there were new people continuing to come out to see this movie that you worked on. Oh my gosh, right? How many folks here are seeing the Blob tonight for the first time? Wow. Who here is going to clap along to the opening song because you've seen it that many times? So Bill, you were the art director on the Blob. For those who don't know what an art director does, could you explain what that job does?
Everything. Nothing happened in this film without my interference. I mean, no, actually, it's a partial truth. As the art director, in this case, I was also what's called a production designer in film, which means you draw images, you do storyboard, you do images of what's going to appear on the screen, especially when you're working with a director who's never done a major feature film before, and actors who seem to be a terrific actor, but he had never done a major feature film before. So I was the one who was supposed to imagine the whole film, beginning to end, which was an interesting assignment for a guy who had never done that before. But as my painting teacher taught me many, many years ago, about 6, 7 years ago, 8 years ago, because I'm 95 now, so yeah, so probably still he gave me these words of wisdom which I shall share with you. Remember, Bill, a bold lie is better than the timid truth. So that's carrying me a long way.
Yes, obviously so. So you're talking about storyboarding, creating these images, being the person to sort of direct the concepts of what we're seeing. Can you talk about one of my favorite visuals of the film is actually the landing crater. That set and the visuals of that. Can you talk about how that came about and what your thought was on that?
You know, but there are things I remember, things I don't know. I can make up a story if you want.
So I guess if you're going to do that. That's right, so do it boldly.
Well, I don't remember the particulars. I did the concept of what we were going to do. Well, I imagined a lot of it. I didn't know. And that's all that I did.
Can I ask you to describe, a lot of people always ask me, and I've read about it, but if you could describe the way that the Blob was made to move toward the camera, the mechanism for that. Yeah.
I get paid to tell secrets.
Let's see if they deserve it. Hey, y'all, do you feel like you deserve to hear this?
It's amazing what you can do when you don't have the resources that other people have to do exactly the same thing. It's working like that. And so we realized that we couldn't animate the Blob because we didn't have that kind of money to animate it, and we didn't know how to do it anyhow. So what we did do is we figured out that if we photographed a set, a wall, building, storefront, whatever, where the Blob had to come through, like a projection booth, remember and the projection booth up there. The Blob came oozing out through the projection booth. So what we did, we photographed the projection, that actual one, cut out the sets for the projection, and then we put this Blob, this gelatinous mass, behind it, and with the camera here, and the Blob there, we rotated both. You got it?
So it's a sort of a seesaw.
It's on it, every shot of the Blob is God's gift of gravity. As always.
And time, right? Patience and time.
That.
The stop motions, or not stop motion, sped up film, so it looks like it's coming faster than it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. So we shot it at 12 frames or 6 frames or whatever the speed the Chartier was to be.
Do you have a favorite effect from the film?
A favorite effect?
Favorite effect, or a favorite set or location, or a favorite thing that you worked on?
Well, the thing I'm most proud of is the police station, because that's a major set in the film. And it's a very complex set. and we did it for $600. Normally that would cost you roughly $5,000 or $6,000. But, you know, Jersey maintains its position that a bold lie is better than. I would walk around town and borrow everything. I mean, everything on that set was borrowed, begged. I don't think anything was stolen, though I'm not so sure. So, no, I love that set, and I noticed it today. I looked at the film today, and I noticed the set does have the dimensionality, which is, Edward Carrick was a very famous art director in London, did major films. He said, every set should have a history. And I think that's a very wonderful notion, so that it isn't a matter of whether you need a window there or not. Imagine that there was a door there, and now it is a window. Or imagine that it was a window, and now it's a wall. Or imagine it was a hallway, and now it's a window. So by imagining its history of a set, of a place that we're going to do a shoot, you create a visual environment that's much richer than it would be if you just did a standard kind of conventional set of a room of some sort. So imagine the history. I have a feeling that actors do that too. Imagine the history. Where was I last year? Where was I last month? What relationships that I had with other people that I'm bringing into this relationship? So imagining a history is a very useful thing to do. And if you can do it on a set or you do it in a role, it works all the time, I think.
Is that like method art direction, sort of like method acting?
I don't know much about method acting. I use it with my wife, but other than that... It's okay. She'll put me in the back seat when we drive home. It's all right.
Your wife and my wife must exchange tips, because this feels really strangely similar.
Wives have to learn to indulge their stupid husbands in their allegedly humorous comments. Don't you dear?
So you also worked on Shorty Yeaworth's 4D Man as well.
Oh, yes.
And there's a couple of sets that we recognize. We sort of, if we love the Blob, we've probably seen before. But 4D Man's got those crazy special effects, the sort of merging between walls and stuff.
Well, I'll tell you. Have any of you seen the 4D Man in 3D? No, in 3D. Nobody? You ought to see it in 3D and make sure you sit exactly in the middle of the theater, because that's where the three-dimensional, that's where the camera lenses were focused. If you don't see it in the middle of the theater, then you're seeing off alignment with the lenses, and you're going to find that your eyes hurt. It was a bad idea. Now 3D is good, but with those, if you've seen a really good 3D movie, they have two cameras that are constantly adjusted so that they work and they don't strain your eyeball, your brain, whatever it is that's causing great pain.
How did you get involved with Valley Forge Film Studios?
How did I get involved with what?
With Valley Forge Film Studios? The studio that made Blob.
No, that's a Good News. Oh, Valley Forge. That's right. It was Valley Forge. They changed it from Good News Productions, which is a Good Christians. That was our Good News. So we did films about helping people to come to Jesus, or stay with Jesus, or avoid. I don't know. Avoid maybe some of the things we did. No, that's not true. But so we were just a religious film company, and that's why Shorty could hire us and not pay us, because we were doing the service of the Lord. So when you're doing the service of the Lord, you should expect to get money also, right? For heaven's sakes. Well, we did it till one day we realized that poor Shorty, he had a car with 4 tires, none of which really should be on the road. So we collectively paid for Shorty to have 4 tires, and then we ate free lunches and had a house. We had room and board. That's what we got paid, room and board. which, you know, if you love it, it's amazing. I never felt exploited until I thought back on it. Then I was furious. But I couldn't do anything about it, so you sit down and shut up is what we say to ourselves when we can't do anything about anything. But it was a great experience. There were about 20 of us that worked on this staff of Good News Concoctions, as I call it. We loved the work. We loved what we did. We loved one another. We all ate together because nobody could afford to go out to a restaurant, for God's sake. So we all ate together. Yes, I remember my mother actually worked in a kitchen on Long Island that had government surplus. So she had these 5-pound boxes of cheese. So she would bring it down to us, and we would have cheese sandwiches. Oh, what a treat! Thanks to so the U.S. government actually paid us Good News Productions to have cheese sandwiches. I don't think they ever knew that. But it was a good place. What was your question?
I was asking how you got involved with Good News / Valve.
I have very good short-term memory, but don't 15 seconds after you ask me a question, you have better remember what you asked me because I've forgotten what you asked.
But it's gonna be fun when we both forget it. It just keeps going around because I have ADD.
No, I don't think.
So I do want to ask.
That's no excuse. I have attention deficit disorder. My wife will tell you about it.
I really think our wives might be the same woman by accident.
Yeah.
So actually, I wanted to ask you, so you were talking about how everybody lived and ate in the same area while working on the Blob. Can you talk about how did that affect the way the Blob was made versus a normal film?
We didn't do normal films. So I don't know how you affect normal films. No, you know, it's a very interesting experience to work with people, none of whom were getting adequate salary, and in the Blob, many of whom got no salary. You take pleasure in the accomplishing it. I mean, I picked out every one of those locations and designed every one of those sets. And you know, I looked at the film just before this afternoon, and I looked at that police station set, and that's a damn well-made set. So you know, so I'm sure you're happy to be polite because none of you noticed it, but that's all right.
That's an important set in the film because you included the map, so we know exactly where we're located, and you included a calendar, so we know it takes place in July.
Oh, you saw that?
Oh, yeah. Now we all have Blu-rays and can see it.
Better go look at it again. No, I'll tell you, I gotta tell you, if you get the chance to work in community, to do anything together with other people, where the commitment is authentic and continuous, you're lucky.
So I'd like to open it up to audience questions for folks that might have questions. You want to raise your hand and, Jeff, how about over there by the pillar?
So what made you think, like, did you design the Blob with how, like, blobby it was?
So the question is, did Bill design the Blob and how blobby it was?
In what?
Did you design the Blob and decide how blobby it would be?
No, the Blob designed itself. It was just a gelatinous mass in a tub. And we pulled out a handful and stuffed it through fake windows. This is not a sophisticated operation. I'm sorry, this is disappointing. I mean, it was true sometimes I had to push harder than other times. That's about it, though. I'm sorry it's not more sophisticated than that. But that's what it is.
So over here in the third row. So she'd like you to speak to the usages of Downingtown. I assume you're from Downingtown. Downingtown natives would like to hear about using Downingtown in the Belinda Diner. And
well, I thought it was does it still exist? I think it's a great looking diner. I mean, you know, that's what I really wanted. Everything to be so generic. Generic is not a good word. So so appropriate, so just right on. That the 20 years, and I didn't know this, that 30 or 40 or 50 years later, you'd still say, yeah, that's what diners look like. That's what a police station looks like. That's a fabulous diner. I should go there.
Road trip after the double feature.
Would they give me a free cup of coffee because I put their thing in the movie? You know, I don't even, we probably didn't even pay them anything. We never paid anybody anything. So maybe I won't go there. They might ask me to pay double.
I'm sure somebody here would buy you a cup of coffee. Questions? You right there.
Yeah, I was wondering, is the Blob related in any way to another movie that came out around that time called The H-Man?
So the question is the Blob related to a movie coming out around the same time called The H-Man?
No relation. I'll tell you, The Blob, which was for the final title, as you know, but my favorite title still was and is The Cruise of the Carnivorous Ooze. It was too big on the screen. We didn't have widescreen then.
Like the glob, the girdle, the globe, another long one.
No, you didn't have that one, no.
Question. You over there. So she's asking me if you can tell about the dog in the movie. Was it somebody on the production's dog?
You know, I don't remember. I'm glad we handled him nicely. And I think he was handled nicely out on camera too. No, I'm sure he was somebody's dog. We didn't get anything. Nothing is in that movie that cost us money except the actor's minimum wage, which was, I'll tell you, if you actor's minimum, don't ever work for that if you have to, unless you have to. It's pretty low. It's amazing how little. I mean, I had a famous actor narrate, Gregory Peck, you may have heard his name. Gregory Peck narrates a film for me, and the actors get minimum $627 to narrate an hour and a half film. Hello, operator? But he, I don't know, he may have taken it, because he didn't. No, in fact, he said it was a film on Chief Justice Earl Warren. And as soon as I told him what the film was about, he said, I wouldn't take anything to do a film on Chief Justice Earl Warren. So it's called Super Chief. If you want to see it, it exists in the PBS catalog. It's called Super Chief, The Life and Legacy of Earl Warren. And it was the wonderful thing about making films is you actually get paid to learn. You get paid to discover and see and explore things you would never have the opportunity to spend time with Earl Warren's kids, and especially his grandson. His grandson was such a sweetheart. When I first met him, I said, I really want you to interview you for your grandfather. Oh, he said, I can't do that. I said, what do you mean you can't do it? I don't have anything to say. What do I know? I said, well, think about it. The next day he calls and said, my grandfather would want me to be interviewed. And it was one of the best interviews in the film. Because, he had a perspective as a young kid, being taken around by this incredible Supreme Court justice. And for him, it was just grandpa. It was lovely.
That's a great perspective to get on somebody.
Yeah.
There's somebody being patient over there, yes.
With being part of this movie from the beginning, did you ever think that it would be remade in 1988?
So, did you ever think that the movie would be remade in 1988 when you were working on it originally?
You mean The Blob?
Yeah.
Oh, I was sure it would last forever. No, of course we didn't think it. We were so glad when Jack Harris sold it to whatever the distributor is, because we thought, thank God, at least somebody will see this stupid thing. And then all of a sudden, it becomes a cult classic. I guess that's what you call it. And I looked at it today. It's not a terrible film.
Yeah, we can bring in a handful of people to see it every once a year. So. Am I neglecting you, balcony? Is that you? Yeah, you flashing the light at me.
Perfect. The idea of the fake movie, The Robot and the Vampire, was that you?
So the idea of the movie poster outside of the theater, the robot, is the robot in the monster poster, is that you that designed that poster? There's a fake movie poster with a...
Why would I do that? I don't do anything that's fake.
The concept of that movie, that fake movie as a movie, was that your design? No. Sorry. You.
What was it like working with Steve McQueen on the set of this movie?
Well, what was it like working with Steve McQueen on the set of this movie? Did you work
Well,
with Steve?
unfortunately, fortunately, it was wonderful because I had very little to do with him. I think I brought him a cup of coffee on the set once, or something like that. But no, I was the one who did imagined the world that he would inhabit. I imagined the sets, I imagined the camera angles, I imagined all of that. But once the movie stars came, the art director, he was pushed aside. Jersey, go have lunch or something. We're making a movie here. They didn't quite say that, but I was not invited to participate in the actual shooting, unfortunately. I was busy. I was busy conning people of Phoenixville to let me use their garage or borrow their cars, so I was busy.
You over there.
That's you. Yeah.
Okay, I worked with Jack Harris's widow, and I'm wondering, what was he like to work with?
So what was Jack Harris like to work with?
Fortunately, as God would, I didn't have to.
Did you work on an earlier film during the Good News Productions era called The Gospel Blimp?
Yes.
You did? Okay, I've seen that movie.
Yes.
So if you don't know, I watched it because there's a lot of downtown Phoenixville featured in the film.
Yes.
So did you do the art direction for that film as well?
Probably. I don't remember it specifically, but I did all the, I was sort of Jesus' representative. That's the way I viewed myself. I say to myself, now what would Jesus think?
He would make a damn good police station set, is what Jesus said.
It's really interesting, though, how a faith empowers you to do things you wouldn't ordinarily do. I realize that fundamentalism right now is doing some things that I strongly oppose, but it also can empower you to do things that you don't think you could do, to reach out beyond the easy route to success and do something that's more difficult. So I'm not anti-faith. I am against people who think that they should impose their faith on me. I never tried to do that. I tried to live my faith. What I tried to do is live my faith in such a way as people would say, well, why don't you go to movies? Or, why do you do that? Then I was happy to say why I did what I did. But the idea of imposing your religious faith, I formed a men's group 60 years ago, and in California, which we had for years and years and years. And then 12, 15 years ago, we moved to New Jersey. Jersey had to live in New Jersey, for heaven's sake. And I formed a new men's group, and we now have 10. Which is a good number for a men's group. And we meet every week because I decided that this was not going to be an occasional thing. What this had to be is a commitment of men to one another. I think women do this much better than men. And it's time men learned how to care for one another as brothers and not as competitors. So that's what we do. We do it every week. And I was saying that to make some point, but you see, that was 15 seconds. So why don't you make up something? If Jersey was really smart, what he would say is, and what he has learned is, having been a men's group for 50, 60 years, that, okay, I don't hear anybody saying anything.
On the aisle here.
Since you guys didn't have social media back then, how long did it take
for you to like realize that you were working on a hit?
So the question
How
is,
did it make you feel?
without social media, how quickly or how did you realize or how fast did you realize that the film was a hit? And how did that make you feel?
Since I didn't get paid for working on it, I had mixed feelings. That's not true. I was happy. When I came here, I don't know, I had been running here for years, and finally I decided, since the film I was the art director on, maybe I ought to go watch and see how it goes. And the thing is, this is either a great town occupied by very generous people who would applause for anything, or there is something in the film that people connect with in a kind of wonderful, innocent, intuitive way. It's not a matter of you analyze the film and you say, oh, that was a good film. No, you couldn't do that with this film. But what you can do, and I did, and I did it today, you can just allow yourself the experience. And thanks for the people who came to the 4 o'clock movie, who did as you do tonight, will do tonight, I suspect, I hope. They so engage themselves with the movie. It's like allowing yourself to really experience being with another person. It's a wonderful thing to do.
I agree with you. I find this film is a unique piece and it resonates with people. I mean, obviously it resonates with people in a different, on a different wavelength than a lot of other films do. We've got time for 2 more questions. How about you right there?
Yeah, can you tell us something about the set of the doctor's office?
So you'd like to know about the Dr. Howland's office set.
That was that house. I didn't build that set. No, I built the police station set. You know, I'm not good at saying things, but when I say something, you should try and listen to what I'm saying. You know, I don't want to get personal, but I'm an old man and I'm very sensitive.
Last question. Who wants to? You got somebody in the balcony? I can. Okay, you there. Yes, you.
What was the blob made out of, they asked?
What was the blob made out of? It's a silicone putty. It's available in your local drugstore. I don't know.
Just don't feed your children to it and you should be okay.
No, but it's fun. And for the guy who bought it and provided it for us, had a big barrel, one of these 20-gallon things. And for years, some of you must have seen him selling it here. He was selling little cups of the Blob. He made more money out of that dopey Blob than I made out of myself.
Well, Bill, I think that puts a great fine point on it. Was there anything else that you would like to talk to our audience about this evening? Is there anything else you'd like to tell the audience this evening before we watch The Blob?
Be careful. Because you can jump out on the street when you're this prepared and in the kitchen.
Thank you so much.
Ha ha ha.